Now, this is California's largest wildfire so far this year. Near the Yosemite National Park, thousands of people have been forced to leave their homes, and firefighters have only managed so far to bring around a quarter of the giant blaze under control. Now, it's called the Oak Fire, and it began last Friday, burning through almost 20,000 acres of land, destroying countless homes and livelihoods, as James Clayton explains.
This was the Martinez family's favorite place in the world. They called it Shangri-La. Their home has now been obliterated. Aaron has returned to assess the damage.
This is my house. This is where I felt the safest. This is where my office was, my television, my computer, books, and binders. There's just nothing. It's a picture frame. There's a glass frame. I had family pictures in it. It's all the stuff that can't be replaced. It hurts. Grandmother's writing, pictures. Oh God, even old answering machines that we saved, that we stopped using just so we could hear grandparents' voices. It's all gone.
Aaron's wife Heather is trying to look for the family cats.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear more than see.
They had 15 of them, but none of them respond to the calls.
Looks like it was one of the teenage ones, or the teenage to adult. Poor thing.
Her son Austin finds one of the kittens. It didn't make it.
I've never experienced anything like this ever in my life, ever.
The grief is overwhelming for Aaron, but the family knew living here was becoming increasingly risky.
The climate here, you've lived here all your life. Have you noticed it change?
It has gotten a lot hotter and a lot drier. A lot of people we've talked to were like, should we try to rebuild? Should we stay? And they say, we're selling. We're getting out of here.
The Martinez family didn't have insurance. They didn't just lose memories, they lost everything.
We're gonna rebuild, and we'll be stronger and smarter. But this loss hurts. It hurts a lot.
The Oak Fire is still only partially contained as firefighters struggle to control the flames. It's too dangerous for many other families to return who have no idea if their houses are still standing. What happened to the Martinez family is a danger more and more Californians are facing as it gets drier and drier. James Clayton, BBC News, Mariposa County, California.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event. Watch.
This Turning Point conference, neo-Nazis were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs and the Nazi swastika.
I think it's important that every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against the swastikas, against the Nazi flags that were waved.
You let them in. You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Well, fast forward to this morning. The hosts apologized before quickly cutting to commercial. Watch.
On Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly neo-Nazi demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
Way to botch the delivery, first and foremost. Sean, something that struck me in the cease and desist letter was the sentence that specifically the View host insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let the neo-Nazis into its event, metaphorically embraced them, and it went on. Insidiously and cavalierly. And I felt that perfectly summed up exactly what those women were saying, which is something so deeply toxic and also so lightly thrown out there.
And so false. I mean, these were protesters outside of the event, right? They couldn't get in. These were not neo-Nazis inside of Turning Point USA. They were protesting outside on public grounds, and Turning Point tried to remove them. But listen, these people have been roundly criticized and shamed by the right. But you look at the little Marxists and communists that rally in the streets and protest and burn things. We condemn them, but the left never condemns them. And you had Joy Behar talking about this anti-Semitism. You guys have heard of the boycott, sanction, and divest movement, the BDS movement, which is a Democrat movement to sanction Israel, an anti-Jewish movement. And we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of the shooting on the baseball field with Steve Scalise. That was a Bernie Sanders supporter. None of us said this is Bernie Sanders' fault when you had that shooter. We realized that there are crazy people who do crazy things. We don't sully a whole party over it, but that's exactly what they try to do to us.
That's such a great point, Kennedy. And also the fact that these neo-Nazi demonstrators were on this public property, specifically Turning Point tried to remove them. So the fact that that association was made in such a chasm of geography, let alone ideology, and it really is a falsehood, one upon the other layer that these women put forth, the official ties to the GOP. It's like there's no end to the falsehoods that they put out there.
Or maybe there is, because when people like Nick Sandmann and Kyle Rittenhouse start suing, these major news organizations for destroying their reputations, maybe some of the people who put forth these narratives will think about it before it escapes their mouths. And, it's like, we all know that. We all know there are lines that you can't cross when you are talking about a story, when you're analyzing a story, when you're angry about something. You still have to stay within the bounds of what happened factually. And I think what happened there was they didn't watch the tape. They didn't even do any investigation. They were just blathering about what happened. And I don't think, if this did go to trial, saying to a judge, well, it was more of a metaphorical. I don't know if that reaches the legal threshold of excusing what you said that might do reputational damage.
Right, and to Kennedy's point, Kat, one of my favorite tweets in response to this was Scott Summers. He said, they only understand being sued. They don't understand logic or facts or the truth or whatnot. And let's put up for a moment something that Whoopi Goldberg said in the past that got her, she was taken off air for a bit and she had to apologize. This isn't her first rodeo. Watch.
Let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
It is. Well,
No, it's
Jews
about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Part two, Kat.
All right, well, I guess I should say, first of all, I actually spoke at Turning Point on Saturday. So I know for a fact that these were protesters who were outside. And I even heard some of the kids there talking like, oh, they must be protesting us because we're not Nazis. And they did try to remove them. And for them to go on and say these things, many things upset me about it. Obviously, Whoopi Goldberg saying they were allowed in and then using the word metaphor, which opposite doesn't mean metaphor. And then Ana Navarro saying every Republican there needs to condemn this. There's so many things. Well, I mean, I was there, I was speaking. I'm not a Republican, I'm a libertarian. But just to have that attitude of, I know they won't. It's so challenging and difficult for these people to condemn. No, it's not. Yeah, I condemn Nazis. I'm insulted and also concerned a little bit about, you have that view of the world where you really think there's all these people who think that neo-Nazis are great and would really struggle to condemn neo-Nazis. It's really disgusting, and I feel bad for anybody who lives their life that way, all at the same time.
And isn't this, Jackie, just another liberal media example? right? The lie travels around the world a million times before the truth does. I'm sure that original segment of theirs will be amplified a million times more than the correction and the apology will.
I'm sure it will be, and it's sad that you have to send the cease and desist letter, right? Pointing out exactly what they've done here to get them to apologize. But as you guys have described, the facts were all wrong. They were describing an event and they got it all wrong. And so the apology, to me, the irony is that, you know, once their lawyer said, you have to read this now and correct what you've done here, then they go and do it. But why do we have to go round and round in these circles trying to sue people, go after people as a result of it? Just report accurately. That's all anybody is asking you to do when it comes to a situation like this. But I'm glad Turning Point USA sent that letter and said, you know what, you fix this. And from a business standpoint, remember that ABC is owned by Disney. Disney has already gone out on a limb, you know, even with respect to its own business and taking a hit for it as well, as saying, you know, we condone wokeness and we're going in this direction and this is what we're going to do. And so I'm not surprised that that particular show would handle this in that way. But I'm glad they got the book thrown at them.
Joy and Whoopi are both collectively such a liability. And, you know, they must have to run just incredible interference legally. They must have a team of lawyers on set drafting things for them to read during every commercial, because what they say is so asinine and so out of touch. It's a miracle they're both gainfully employed.
And yet the excuses are, I was being metaphorical.
Right.
I mean, I don't think an attorney wrote that. Exactly.
Not what the word means.
Exactly, unless they're a pretty poor attorney.
Is this really the view? I mean, you have these liberal ladies who are out there, you know, bashing conservatives or bashing Republicans, trying to tie them to neo-Nazis. If you have issues with their policies, yeah, we want to lower taxes. We like less regulation. We want a secure border. We don't like crime in America. It's bad for our families. Attack us on that. Have that debate, but you want to tie us because you can't debate that. Tie conservatives to neo-Nazis. It's shameful.
And the larger liberal media keeps doing it.
They do.
And the thing is I think it will backfire, already has, because all that does is raise the indignance, to your point earlier, that raises the offense of it, because everyone knows it's the furthest thing from the truth, apparently, except for the 5 people around that table.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
Tonight, a CNN investigation of Hunter Biden's emails revealing years of high income and even higher debts, more than $500,000 in unpaid bills, repeated warnings from banks. The IRS even threatened not to renew Hunter Biden's passport. This as the Justice Department weighs possible charges against the president's son. Drew Griffin is out front.
The emails posted by a right-wing operative on the internet have long been used as a political weapon against President Joe Biden. But it's his son, Hunter, who's facing potential federal charges. As CNN first reported, prosecutors in Delaware are narrowing in on potential tax violations in their investigation of Hunter Biden. These emails, forensically authenticated for CNN, reveal Hunter Biden was repeatedly warned about deep debts and years of back taxes. This, despite having a lavish income that included as much as $50,000 a month for sitting on the board of Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company. A 2019 spreadsheet sent to Biden from his assistant details more than $500,000 in bills due or past due, including hundreds of thousands in taxes over several years. The emails show he knew he was delinquent. October 2018, his accountant wrote, "They are late," noting that Biden had missed an already extended tax filing deadline of October 15th. 2 weeks later, your 2017 tax returns are still unfiled, the accountant reminded Biden. The next day, you need to get 2017 filed so we can try to work out a payment schedule. The accountant told Biden the IRS was also demanding a payment from 2015. They want $158,000, the accountant wrote. The 2018 federal taxes of $471,000 will be in addition. IRS has notified the State Department, and they will not renew your passport until this is resolved.
He was struggling under a massive drug addiction, and that's heartbreaking and painful.
In past interviews, both Biden and his ex-wife say Biden's financial issues became worse with the death of his brother and his drug use.
I went one time for 13 days without sleeping and smoking crack and drinking vodka exclusively. throughout that entire time.
The couple divorced, and Hunter would owe $37,000 a month in spousal support. The spreadsheet shows he fell behind. Just part of a lifestyle that was financially out of control. More than $65,000 owed on one credit card. He owed a $1,700 payment on a Porsche. His health care bill was back due. And the assistant, who was trying to keep track of it all, said she too wasn't being paid. "I'm trying to figure out what to do about bills," Biden's then assistant asked. "Pay the health care, pay the Porsche," Biden responded, and told the assistant she should only pay herself half what she was owed. The emails reveal multiple warnings from banks concerning insufficient funds, deep debt. His credit card repeatedly declined. In a statement to CNN, Biden's attorney acknowledged the tax issue, saying he is current on his tax obligations and is committed to remaining so as he continues his recovery from addiction.
I'm cooperating completely, and I am absolutely certain, 100% certain, that at the end of the investigation, that I will be cleared of any wrongdoing.
Even if Hunter Biden is never charged with a crime, that won't matter to Republicans, especially those who may chair powerful committees if the Republican Party wins the majority in Congress, like Kentucky Congressman James Comer, who promises a Hunter Biden investigation if he heads the House Oversight Committee.
Hunter Biden's a shady business character. We fear that he has compromised this White House. That's why we're not going to continue to let up on these investigations, and we're going to hold somebody accountable for this.
Joe Biden is not being investigated as part of the federal probe into Hunter Biden, according to sources.
Drew, some of that stuff just amazing to see, you know, paying his assistant half of what she was owed, but pay the Porsche. Look, I'm sure Republicans would like nothing more than having Hunter Biden indicted right before the midterm elections in November. But the big question is, Drew, how likely is that?
You know, Aaron, we know this case has reached a critical juncture for the Justice Department, but we also know through sources that timing like that is an issue. There are actual guidelines to try to avoid bringing politically sensitive cases before elections. It's anyone's guess whether he's going to be even charged at all. Aaron?
All right, Drew, thank you very much.